Oh hey, welcome to another edition of Hand-Laid Tracks and 3D Printed Trains with Socrates. Today we're looking at multicolor prints. I got a Bambu A1. Alright, it's kind of better. The quality's a bit higher. I had to improve the gaps on the bottoms, had to make them a bit smaller because it doesn't have as much of a foot. Although like any printer, it can be finicky. I'm having some trouble with bed adhesion, but I don't get the textured bed. Anybody who likes a textured bed can explain to me why that's good. I prefer the flat bed, and I can't even find a single double flat-sided plate out there. Anyway, I made the Canadian grain car a little while ago. This is that cylindrical grain car, and in Canada, they have them pretty with a Canada logo and some grain symbols on the side. So I made it with Bambu. 3 colors, prints up. Got your micro-train couplers on the bottom, just like always. Little tongue and groove. This is tighter now. And you get yourself on Colts, assuming you've got a multicolor printer, you can make yourself a Canadian grain car. So this is the Bambu slicer, which is very useful for making the multicolor prints. In fact, I'm not sure how you do it with the S3D, which it normally has. So this is the Canada grain 3-color print. You add the file for the base or the body file into the slicer, and you can see on the sides it has the different colors or different areas segregated out. And by the way, if you hit Shift Tab, that's how you get rid of the side panel. I found that to be a very helpful comment somewhere on Reddit. And you use the fill bucket. So there's the paint bucket to open the paint window, and then there's a fill bucket to open where you actually open this version of it. And then you do it each color at a time. Everything's originally the first color. I leave that alone. I make the text out of the second color. And you can print it whatever color you print it, but you're sort of segregating them into groups. And then the grain is a third color, and you can see there's little tiny tags at the bottom there you have to sort of get if you want to get every little piece. I'm not sure if it even shows up. The second half of the grain is an open piece of grain. The first is closed and the second's open, so they both have little tags on the bottom. And then you make sure you get everything on the one side, flip it over, do both sides, and any mistakes you can make, you can always hit Control-Z and back out of it. And again, go through real fast. Make sure you get all the little pieces, zoom in a bit, and save it as a project. And you can go back to it as well. And then once you have, again, any mistakes, Control-Z your way back out of it. Or you can also just hit the color that it's supposed to be and click on it as well. If you don't want to Control-Z back, you can certainly do that. Just overlay it with whatever the proper color should be. And it's a little confusing depending on the shape of the geometry, but if you look at it slowly, you'll find that you get all the different parts. And then once you slice it, you can in this case I did 4 copies at once because the way the Bambu works, it's the same amount of waste for 4 of them as it is about for 1. And so that's how I ended up with a bunch of the Canadian grain hoppers. And the problem is if they all mess up, you end up with a bunch of poorly adhered grain hoppers. So I have 4 that I'm going to give to a friend of mine's child, and she can play with them as a regular toy. And if you can tell me why people use a textured bed or why it's better, I'd love to know. I think the flat's much better, and I can't find a double-sided smooth one either. I move that little purge block to the front because otherwise the bed sort of slings out towards your knees a bit too much, and if it's out there, it slings backwards. And after that, save it and print it. Works really well. Other than the adhesion issues, but that's a 3D printer. I think they're a whole lot more pretty than the regular ones, and I really like the way they look. Works really good so far. Quite happy with it. Get yourself a Canadian grain car. Multicolor print it, and you can be Canadian, even if you live in the Netherlands. Thanks for watching. Check it out next time on Multicolor Prints with Hand-Laid Tracks and 3D Printed Trains. Hand-Laid Tracks in multicolor. Woohoo!